All right, so Ariel's back. Okay, so one cool feature that we do want to show you is how you can email a document directly into the room, right? So let's say you're the listing agent and a buyer's agent says, hey, I have an offer for you, and they email it to you, right? And so it's as simple as forwarding that email, right, straight into DocuSign. Now, how would you do that? You can come over here to where it says inbox. Okay, there's two pieces of information that you're going to need from DocuSign in order to do that, right? And so you're going to come over to inbox, and you're going to see that every agent, so all of you, if you go to inbox, you're going to see that you have here a customized DocuSign email address. Okay, so you're going to want to copy that. Okay, that is your customized DocuSign email address. Then you're going to go back inside your room. You're going to need that, and you're going to need the room ID, this ID number right here. Those are the two main pieces of information that you're going to need. Okay. Next, let me go to my emails. Come in here. And let's just say I'm going to compose the email so I can send it in. So I'm going to hit compose. Come on. There we go. Okay, perfect. So I've got my email here. I'm going to paste in here the specific email address that DocuSign gave me. Here on the subject line, remember the ID number for that specific room? I'm going to put that in the subject line. So I'm going to put $, 5263844. Okay, you guys with me so far? That specific ID number goes in the subject line, and the email address will go up here. And then I can easily just grab the document. So let's see, I have one here. Contract offer. Right, so I have the document attached. I don't have to write anything in the body. As long as I have the document attached, I have my room ID and I have my email address. I can hit send. And what that does is that it emails the document to DocuSign, but because you put the specific room ID for this room, DocuSign knows where to put it in, right? So it does take a couple seconds. So let me just refresh here a couple times. It takes a little bit, right? It's still going through the clouds, getting over to DocuSign. So let's see here, refresh. And there it is. Contract offer, 8842 Northwest 115th Street. So it's very, very simple. Okay. You're going to need, again, two pieces of information. ID number of the room in the subject line and your inbox. If you come here to inbox, the email address. Now, if you put the email address, right, you grab the email, you receive the email, you hit forward. If you put the email address and you forget to put the ID number on the subject line, then the document will still come to DocuSign. It'll just leave it right here in your inbox. And then you're going to have to move it over to the room that it pertains, right? So it's not that it won't go through. It'll still go through. It'll just come here to your inbox folder right up here. And then you have to select it and then move it to the room that it belongs to. But if you want it to go straight, just add that room ID in the subject line and it'll come straight in here just like that. All righty.
The only thing I would add to that is I would go into the settings area and you can change your email address. This is just my tip. You can go settings there, go to preferences, and go to your inbox details. And in there, you can see your email inbound. So he's got Ariel.57962. Was that given to you or did you name it that?
Yeah, that one was given to me. I didn't really change it, but I mean, I can go ahead and
I changed mine to Ryan Yarbrough, and then it's at mail.docusign.net. And then my suggestion beyond that is to go back into whatever you're using for your email and create your contact through there and put that email address in there so you can easily email that every single time. So I created my contact as DocuSign inbox as the name, and then I put that email address in there. So now whenever I want to send it to that inbox, I just put it there, and then all I have to do is copy the room ID and put that in the subject and then forward it over there. All right, so I'm going to pull the chat up. Thank you very much, Ariel, for taking over. My computer was
yeah, my pleasure.
been on for too long.
And just to answer a question we have here, yes, you also have the option of fax, and that fax number does work. So if you have some clients that still use faxes, if you give them this number, they can fax the document, and the document will come right into this folder, and then you move it into the room that it belongs to.
It's like, what is fax? Yes, there are still people who use it and title companies that use it. All right, see, what if someone emails you a contract from .loop? I mean, as long as they're sending it to that email address, it can go from .loop into DocuSign. It'll work fine.
Yep.
All right, so great questions. That's one tip right there. That was what I was going to start off with, but try to go through it. So again, he showed you going into settings and changing your preference for your email. So that was the first big tip I wanted to go over. And then how to email into those rooms. Next thing I wanted to kind of go over is going to be, she went over splitting documents. So there's another thing, but we'll go into it again because I want to make sure we go through all these tips. Some of you may have not been on the earlier ones, so we'll go over that. Templates, we're going to go over templates as well. Before I do go into that though, I do want to make sure that I show that next month we are going to be doing Take Command, but we're going to be doing the lead gen version of it. So June 29th, 2021, we may not go the full time period. We're still working on it, but right now we're scheduled for 9 to 4, but we're going to be basically going into how to lead generate using command. Okay. So keep that on your calendars for next month. And I want to take this opportunity again to thank our Market Center Tech trainers who have been on this call helping. I know Brett's been in the chat quite a bit helping. Ariel's been in there. Dora's been in there. Thank you all. Andrew was on earlier. He filled in for Peter. So thank you guys who have helped, and we really appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Ryan, for all that you do for us.
No problem. I enjoy you guys. So next thing we're going to talk about is how to create these documents. So first thing I'm going to explain to you is what we're using is DocuSign rooms right here, okay? There is another side to DocuSign though, and it's called e-signature. If you click on the top right-hand corner, you can go to where it says switch to e-signature. And while that's pulling that up, I hope every single one of you, after just watching that, went into your contacts, created a contact with your DocuSign email, just to make your life that much easier. All right, so now that we're in here, there's just like on the room side, there's tabs up here as well. So we've got home, manage, templates, and reports. The only area I really want you to care about is the templates section. All right, we're gonna come into templates, and you can create a new template. You can see in here, I've already got my buyer estimated closing costs, which is just one that I'm playing with right now. I'm trying to use trying to make it so I have an actual closing cost sheet that can calculate right within there, but that's taking some advanced play with, because I'm not good with those formulas as well as some other people might be. So I'm trying to figure out those formulas in there. But the condo writer is one that's in there that's very important. So what I did is I uploaded a condo writer and put it in so that I could put the initials in the right place. Same thing with the seller's property disclosure. I did the same thing there, okay? So what I did to do that is I went to new and then upload template. So what I'm going to do is I could upload one that I've already created from somebody else, so I could take this right here and download it and share it with you.
Ryan,
or I could hit create template.
It's hard to see your screen. They're asking if you can make it bigger.
Thank you.
Sorry for the interruption.
I guess it didn't do it when I moved it over, but you are right. Is that better?
Yes.
Yes.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a name. So I'm going to call this one condo writer. So then we put in what this is, and then I can upload the condo writer here. So I'm going to go in, and I've got documents. And here's my condo writer. So then I'm going to go down just like we would before. We're going to put in a recipient. So this is going to be seller 1. And then I'm going to add recipient, seller. We don't even have to have a name here. I want to try and match up to, because seller 1 and seller 2, that is written out. Now we're going to hit next. I'm going to explain why we're doing this. The reason why we're doing this is we're creating an actual template. Think of this as a transparency, okay? We're going to be able to lay this over top of whenever we're working with a buyer. If they send us I actually should have done buyers when I did it in here. I apologize. But this is going to be a transparency for our buyers to be able to put their initials in. Also on this condo writer, we may have to have our own initials. So anything that your buyers are working with, you may want to have this created as a template ahead of time. So like buyer's initials right here and right here. You're not working with the seller, but you may want to put your buyer's names. Let me go out actually before we go any further and change this and fix it. Already confuse you. This is already confusing enough as it is. All right, so I'm going to hit next. So we got buyer 1, buyer 2. All right, so now that we've got this in place, we're going to go ahead and add in the initial. I'll go to buyer 2 and do initial. What's beautiful is it resizes it for you. You don't have to go back and resize that second time. We can also go ahead and put in their name. So if I put this name, so for buyer, I'll put it right about there. And then for buyer 1, same thing again, name right there. Fills it out for me. The rest of it, I'm not really going to have to fill out. So right here, I may want to select one of these. You could do that at the time, but if you want to pre-select it, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put a checkbox. And then we'll add another one. The difference between this checkbox and this checkbox is they can check both of them. So if you didn't want them to be able to check both of them, they can only select one, like it says right here, check one. That's when we don't use a checkbox. So that's when we would actually use a radio button, because radio buttons are this or that. So we're going to check one. All right, so now those radio buttons are in there. They'll be able to check one. And hopefully, Dora, if there's anything coming up, please feel free to interrupt me, because I can't see the chat on my screen. All right, so anywhere else that we need that. So buyer's request. So for requesting, same thing. We're going to use a radio button here. If the buyers receive documents, then we'll go ahead and put a checkbox in there. If they didn't, they don't have to check it. You can also they would put the spaces and all that in there.
Ryan, they are asking if there's a third seller.
If there's a third seller, then we could definitely, well, we're not dealing with the sellers on this one. This is for the
Or
buyers.
buyer,
Okay?
either one.
If there's a third buyer, we could add a third buyer in there as well. We just go in, and when we when we were in there before putting the pre-tagged roles, we would just add them in there. Okay. But right now, the one I'm creating, if I wanted to, I could go ahead and create it ahead of time. So if I'm going to be using this all the time, that's the way I would do it, is I would just go ahead and put as many, like the most buyers I've ever had on a property before has been 5. And that was in a trust situation. So if I wanted to do that, just to be careful of that, I could go ahead and create 5 right now and put buyer 1, buyer 2, buyer 3, same thing, and just have it all set up. That way, if that situation comes up, it's ready. If there's only 2 buyers though, that's fine because it'll only do those buyers when you're setting it up. It won't put buyer 3, 4, and 5 in there if you only have 2 buyers. All right, so all the other information should be pretty much for the seller. So this is what we have for the buyer. Now that I have that, I'm gonna hit save and close. Now that's a condo writer that I've created as a template, and all I have to do now is pretty much use it. If I wanted to download this and share it with anybody, I could go to download, and it's going to download it as a zip file. The reason I'm bringing this up is most people, their intention is when they have a zip file, so I'm going to hit save on this. Their intention is to go ahead and open up that zip file and find documents. You don't have to do that. Whenever, like if I share this with you right now, I can put this whole zip file into the chat, which I'll just go ahead and do. What you would do is you would download that zip file, and then you just go to new, and then go to upload template, and you would just open up that entire zip file. And that was under May. So you would just choose that whole zip file and hit open, and that's it. It'll pull the whole template in there for you. So I just gave you that one we just created. And then you can go and edit it if you want as well. You would just come over to here, go to edit, and edit however you want. Like you can add in more buyers if you wanted to. Now let me show you why we did this. So I showed you how to do that. Let me show you why. So we're going to move back over to our room side. What I just showed you is probably the most complicated thing I'm going to show you today. So if that was really hard for you, please go back and watch this video again and follow the instructions. It really is very simple once you get the hang of it, and it's going to make your lives a lot easier. Also, if you're an MCA and you're on this call, everything I just did there, you probably recognize because you've probably done it for your market centers, but you have the option to go in there and share, and you can share with your entire market center. So as an MCA, you could create the document for them and then share with them. The problem with some of these documents is creating it yourself, is you're responsible for keeping up with it. So for example, last year they updated the SPDR2 to the SPDR3. So there's a difference on those two. When you create them, they've inverted the buyer and seller initials at the bottom of the page. So if you're using the old one, you'd be putting the initials in the wrong place. So I'm going to go to Wanda Hurd right here because it's a room I just set up. And I am going to follow this into what I just showed you, and we're going to pull in the condo writer. So I'm going to go into documents. I'm going to add Docusign Forms. All I'm doing right here is finding that condo writer. There it is. Now I'm going to add selected. I'm going to go ahead and create an envelope with this one form. Now, what you can see right here is that all I have is an option to remove because this is a form, which means that as a listing agent, I'm sending this off to be signed. But as a buyer's agent, we get PDFs because we go to the MLS or we go to an email that they've sent us with a PDF in it. And the problem is we're constantly going through all those and filling them out. A good example of that, and my favorite example to use, is going to be the seller's property disclosure because there's so many places for them to go and check off. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and remove this one. And now I do have a copy of one on my computer that is marked up. So I'm going to go to more, upload. Let's go to wherever that. This one here isn't the right form, but it's going to be an example. Now you can see that this is a PDF form. This is not a form, it's a PDF. So we're going to go to actions. And now because it's a PDF, it gives me the option to apply template. So I'm going to apply this template. And then you're going to see my templates pop up. Yours also shared with me. So my templates, we have the condo writer. I'm going to select the condo writer and I can add that selected. If I don't have this, if your market center has done it for you, like I was just saying that MCAA could create this and share it with you from your market center, then you would go to shared with me. Now, if you create it yourself, the advantage of creating it yourself is that it comes up really quick. If an MCA shares it with you, it has to find it. So it does take a little bit of time. As you can see, it's circulating right there. But by going to my templates, and I'm going to pull up the other ones. Here's a temp condo writer, and I'm going to go ahead and hit add selected. Now, when I go to next, I should see, oh, forgot to put the recipients on there. Got to tell it who. We're going to use pre-tagged roles. There's buyer 1 and there's buyer 2. So I'm going to go ahead and select who that person is, Wanda Hurd. And then I'm going to put just myself in there. Hit next. Now, I didn't have an extra copy sitting around of that. I purposely put it in a different one just to show you where the signatures went. So this is a seller's property disclosure, but you can see that the full name is put where it should be on the condo writer, and the initials are put where they should be as well. And if I come down, there's the additional documents. So if I went and did the exact same thing and uploaded instead these condo writer, these would be perfectly in place and you wouldn't have to recreate these. And the reason I use this crinkly document is to show this is somebody who scanned in a document and uploaded it. So I can show you again the same reason. I'm going to make this make more sense here because I used the wrong one. So I'm going to apply the correct template for this one. So I use the seller's property disclosure. So I'm going to discard that template because I used the wrong one and apply the template for the seller's property disclosure. And my recipients are the same, so I'll go to next. Now, I created this one ahead of time the same way I just created the other one. I just went in and put the initials in that one time. I'm applying the template, and now it should come into here. And it's not working right this second. Go back again. Maybe it didn't take my apply. My templates. Of course, it's not. It should be working. It should be at the bottom of each page. It should be initials right here. I'm not sure why it's not. It's giving me a hard time. Maybe because I need to just create a new envelope. Apologize for that. right, so I'm just going to discard this envelope. And I'll do the same thing here. I will go to new, more, upload, property disclosure. Apply template. There's here again. There it is. Way I know for sure is these little yellow tick stickers showed up. So that tells me that there are initials on there. So if I come down on this page, those initials are not, that initial is not in the correct place, but it is on there. And they're not always going to be in the right place because of the fact that depending upon how they scanned it, it may not show up properly. So I can resize it, but I've got that initial there. Same with this one, it's in the same place. On the regular sheet, it should have been in the same right place. And then I can move this initial down here and get my signature in there. Also, if you're ever having an issue, here's a tip for you too, is if you're doing this initials and I wanted this, I can select it, hit Control C on my computer, and I can come down to the next page and I can hit Control V. It'll give you exactly the same size, pasting it right in there, which is much faster. And that's something that you can't do in Dotloop. Same thing if I say these are two initials, I could come over here and typically when I'm putting initials in place, I can come to the top and choose who this is. I don't have a second person in here, so I can't do that now, but I could change who's signing right there to the additional person because there's a drop down typically right here when there's two people. There's one right here, but this is the one that controls who's signing on that one. All right, so this puts the initials in place for you. I'm gonna check the chat and see if we had any questions on that. Thank you, Brett, for answering that question. That's correct. You just put however many you need in there. All right, so I'm going back to the documents section now because we just talked about templates that are the templates that I just showed you. Those ones are similar to what we would be like a transparency. They're an overlay. The best place to use them is going to be on a condo writer, a seller's property disclosure, or lead-based paint. Those are great ones because those are ones that typically at working with a buyer we get from a seller and they have information that we need to put on there, but it's always going to be in the same place, okay? It's always going to be the initials. It's always going to be their signatures and maybe a couple of radio buttons. You don't have to really change anything there. Just apply that template and go. So that makes that portion of the process faster. The next portion I'm going to teach you is about templates in the forms. So these are your documents. What I want you to do is you're going to go into My Docs tab right here in the top right-hand corner. Once you go into My Docs, you're going to see personal forms and form templates. Come to form templates. Now, let me explain what this really is. So when you're writing an offer, you usually write your offers one of several ways, but you're going to write them almost the same way every single time. So for example, right now, we're probably writing a lot of offers on 7-day contracts rather than 10-day or 14-day. So if you're writing those, you can go ahead and write the contract up as a 7-day inspection period. And you can see that I've named these right here in a template name. 10-day inspection period on the as-is contract. See, this one is cash, 10-day inspection on as-is. I have a FHA 7-day inspection with no home warranty. I'm naming those specifically so I know exactly which ones to pick between. Once I've created these, and the way I create them is create form template. I'm going to choose from my library or choose from my form group. So I'm going to go into my group that's been created, and I can see in my offices, I'm going to go to the buyer controlled residential. There's my as is contract. I'm going to use that one. Or you can do the residential contract, whatever you guys are using. Everybody up here in our area asks for the as is constantly. So that's why I'm using that. All right. So anything you put in here is going to populate for you. So you do not want to put in the property address. You do not want to put in the parties' names, because when you go into details, that's going to fill that in automatically for you. The stuff that you would want to fill in, again, legal description, you don't want to fill all that in because that's specific to each property. What you could put in here is if you want specific things every single time that you fill out, because it's very common that you put in the refrigerator, the range. I don't know about washer and dryer because that's not as common as like the range and the refrigerator. But anything that you would ask for continually, you would put that in there. If you always make this contingent on being 3 days, then you could go in here and put that in there. So that's always how I fill mine out. My escrow agent, that's going to be different depending upon what the sellers are requesting, unless you're just somebody who likes to write offers up, requesting the title company be the title company you work with, then you can go ahead and fill that in here. You're not going to change any of the money amounts because that's going to change every single time. Time for acceptance, I don't touch dates on here because they change. But I may not assign this contract. I pretty much put that on all mine unless it's something that has to do with a trust or anything like that. Financing. This is where it differentiates. This is where I create separate ones. So if I'm doing a cash buyer, then I'm always going to create one. This one's for the cash buyer. Then I may make a copy and make one for a conventional and then one for an FHA. So I've already got them written up. You've pretty much written everything up. You're filling everything in here except for the stuff that populates from the details section that is changing on each and every deal. So I would go ahead and on this one, I'm just going to say this one's a VA one because I haven't done a VA one yet. I'm going to leave that blank. I'm going to say it's fixed. I'm going to leave that one blank. And then I may come in here and change that to whatever the minimum loan may. I'll leave that blank. Minimum loan length. There we go. All right. Financing period is, I'm going to put that in as 5. Just fill it in. All right. So closing costs. If you want to create one that's asking for seller concessions, you can go ahead and put that in here. I'm not asking for that as much as possible right now because you don't win with that as much. Cost to be paid by the buyer. If you want to put anything in there, if it's something, for example, I know a lot of you may say that you want to put in here, this is a fee that you're charging for your closing coordinators, something like that. If that's something you always put on here, then you would put on here, closing fee $375 or whatever you charge. Title evidence, we'll go ahead and put 15 in there. If we want to put a check mark for that, we can put that in there. Home warranty, you can check that off if you wanted to. Seller assessments, I always put in full. So it's however you fill it out. That's why one of the things I really need to explain to you is you can't fill this out for, like, if you have a team, you can't fill this out and then share this with people on your team because this is specific to everybody who's filling out their contracts. So like if you have a team and you have somebody who is a that does all your contracts for you, maybe you have a operations person or a listing coordinator and they fill out everything for you, they can create their templates and apply them and work with them, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. But for this specific purpose, if you're the person filling it out, you have to apply your own template. So you have to create your own template. So spending a little bit of time ahead of time, getting these prepared so that when you go to write the actual contracts themselves, all you have to do is apply template. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. Okay, now we're into right to cancel. So here's your inspection period. 10:15 again. We're in 7. We're pretty much putting 7 on all of them right now and stressing out our home inspectors. All right, so the other area you might want to look at is, this is a VA one. So I want to make sure that I am checking my VA financing period, so I don't forget that one. Anything else that you might be putting on here, you can make sure you check it, but that's the only one for sure I know that I need. If you wanted to make this specific to ones with lead-based paint, you could check that so you don't have to worry about it. You can just have them all pre-filled ahead of time. In our area, we got a lot of that, so it's almost a given to check that. Additional terms, you may put specific language in here every single time. So if there's specific language you always put in your additional terms, now's your time to put that in so you can apply this template, okay? So I'm just gonna put in here A, B, C, D, F, G, just so I can prove that this works. Now we're gonna hit save and close. Now all that information that I just filled in is now created as a template. And that one was this one right here, the as is residential. I'm going to go ahead and hit edit one more time because I want to make sure I find that easily. So I'm going to just name this test.
Hey Ryan, Palm Beach East has a question when you have a minute.
Let me see what we got here.
I can't quite figure out what they're asking for, so might have them speak up.
You can fill in additional terms to add to the template, or if it will mess up the template entirely. Additional terms. So yeah, where I was just at in additional terms, you can put the additional terms in there, definitely. It just depends on what kind of additional terms you're wanting in there. So if you have specific ones, depending upon what type of offer you're writing up, you might want to write a couple different templates depending upon what you're putting in those additional terms. So like,
Can I ask a verbal question?
yeah, go for it.
What I guess I'm talking about is in the proposed term sheets, if you fill that out ahead of time, it automatically fills your contract in for you with those terms. So what I'm asking is, right, currently that's what I do. I fill in the proposed term sheets with all of this, and then I still have to fill in more information when I get into the contract. What I'm asking is, if you created the template ahead and then added additional terms, would you be able to add that to the template, or would it mess up the template? Does that make sense?
Do you mean like if you add those proposed terms, will it overwrite what's in the template?
Yes.
It will overwrite, yeah. Well, if you already have something within the details section, it will not override the details section. So whatever you put in right here will not override whatever you have into the details now.
Okay, thank you.
And I know Dora and Ariel, you guys took the class too, and I know that was one of the questions up there. So if I was wrong, correct me. I definitely can be wrong. I don't have a steel trap as a mind. So, but that's what I remember them saying, is that the details overrides whatever goes into these forms. Is that what you remember?
I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking yes.
Yeah, it should be the details, because I remember them bringing that up as, hey, don't forget the detail section overrides whatever you put into a template. But I don't believe that you can.
But what the information is usually different anyways.
Yeah, but I don't think you can put that portion into from the detail section. We'll show how that works here in a second, though. We'll test it. All right, so now I fill this up again. I'm saving it, closing it. Now I'm going to go add it as this contract to it. So I'm going to go to rooms. Now, some of you may have noticed when I pulled up the documents in the room before, there's a little box that populated. So I'm going to go to this one here. I'll go to documents. All right, now that I'm in documents, I can add, go to Docusign Forms, and this is an update that just happened recently. So we've got this little modal now that you've all probably noticed. This was something we requested, and it's kind of brought it to make it look a little bit more like Dotloop, where we can go through and search all these things. But it's also done one other thing. It's made this step a little bit easier. So if I just type in as is here, right there, I select this one, all of a sudden you see this drop down up here. So every one of the templates that I've created around the as is contract are available to me now. So I just did this test one, so I can choose the test one and add selected. So I'm going to open this up so you can see it. So Wanda Hurd and Brandon Hurd, they get pulled in because they're part of this contract. But you can see that that was already selected for me. That those have been selected for me. So everything's already filled out for me. That's one less step I have to take. And it's really quick because it's right there when you're selecting. So just apply your template right within there. And the detail section fills everything else out. So we're going to test this. I'm going to go back to the detail section and see where you're saying you're putting additional terms in. Fills this part out. So let me go here and show that it's in there. So there's ABCDF, ABCD is in the additional term section. So what you're asking, I hope this was just a big wow for a lot of you guys, because this is extremely helpful. Go create your templates and the way you create your offers. There's on the as is contract, there's probably only about 4 or 5 different ways that I actually fill them out on a regular basis. So creating those ahead of time and just applying them immediately saves you a ton of time. And then if you're working with a buyer and you go to the envelope stage and apply that other template to the seller's disclosures, that just saves you a whole bunch of time right there as well. All right, so I'll go to details. Location, listing details.
Like, what are you going to fill out in the details that
She was asking for that additional terms and stuff.
But you can't put that here in the details.
I never thought you could. I thought I was maybe
Okay,
I
I
was
was confused there.
I thought I was missing something too, so that's why I
Okay.
came in to verify. Because I don't typically fill everything in here. I fill out making sure I've got all the buyer, seller, and the agent's information in here. I put in property information, and then I don't usually come and fill the rest of the stuff out because
Yeah.
I've not found it to fill anything else out before.
Correct. There isn't anything that you would template that's gonna cross with the details, because the details is kind of limited.
Now, this is a problem that your market center tech trainers have been working on for a while. So we've put together what we call a cover sheet, and we've submitted it to DocuSign, and we're just waiting on them to finish creating it. Once that cover sheet comes into play, you guys will be able to select that cover sheet. And instead of coming in here and filling all the details section out, you can just go into the cover sheet and fill all of it out, and it'll fill in the rest of the contract everywhere else. It's not available just yet. It should be available just about any day. I've gone in every single day this week and checked on it to see if it's there yet. And it's coming up on 3 weeks since we submitted it. So it should be in there anytime. I think it's taking a little bit more time because of the fact that they're not just doing it for one market center. They're doing it for every single market center in our region. And that's thanks to your market center tech trainers. So when that becomes available, I'm thinking if you were able to come in, this is the imagination of it is just bypass details, come into documents, hit add, go into your Docusign forms, and then hopefully that's added to your groups in every single one of your groups. So if I go to contract buyer controlled, that should be in there. And if that's in there, then I just select them, add it in, and then only fill out the cover sheet, and then go in and apply my templates when I am adding them to the room. So now my cover sheet fills in the details, the template fills out the rest of the stuff. The only thing I have to do now is go into my envelope and apply any other templates I need there and send off for signature. It should be that fast. Now, just keep an eye out for that. It's going to be called a cover sheet, and we created 4 of them, one for lease, one for land, one for residential, and one for commercial. So as soon as they're available, you'll be able to just fill that out and start moving very quickly. We're running close on time, so one of the last things I really want to show you is they showed you organization. I'll show you kind of how I organize them. I don't like the look of this, even though it's pretty to see kind of a quick glimpse of what it looks like. I'm used to .loop. I used .loop for many, 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 many years. So coming over to this was painful for about a couple hours, because once I really learned how DocuSign works, it works a lot quicker. She already showed you how to split a document. Dora did in an earlier class. That's much easier than the way it is in .loop. One of the other things that's really easy to do is adding initials. I tried to go in, and I don't know if you saw my rooms area. I had one in there that says Yarbrough Kiddos. I was doing a summer camp. I was getting signatures and filling out a summer camp sign up for my kids. And I had two of my daughters going, which means I had to fill the document out twice. So what I did is I went through and put all the initials on the first one, copied them all by selecting them all, and then hitting Control C. And then I went down to the second child and hit Control V. And it pasted all those initials that I put in place there. The other thing I did is, instead of me going, like in .loop, you have to go to the top, add initial, go put the initial in place, then select who that initial is. You don't have to do that in DocuSign. You can copy, change the person, and then you can copy those initials and just keep on pushing Control V or just paste and paste them all in a row, which is so much faster. So I can kind of show you that in a second, but this is how I put them in a row. And I also come in and go to add folder. And the first thing I do is, this is me, is I have a working folder, which my working folder is where I put all the stuff that's such as the certifications, any emails I get, I create a folder for communication and I put all the communication in there. But if I'm working on specific properties, I would come in here and say, this one's for 123 Main Street. So any PDFs, this one and this one, I'm going to select them. I'm going to use this move function. I'm going to select the destination as a folder in a current room. And I'm going to choose 123 Main Street, and I'm just going to move them over to that. So once I've had everything signed, I move all the PDFs over to that. And I personally, for my own organization, I leave all the forms in the room docs. Because to me, that's signifying those are things that can be changed. So PDFs go into the room for me. Room docs are always forms. Working folder, again, those are just going to be certifications and stuff like that. If it's a certification for a certain property, I can put it into that property if I am not using that property anymore. For example, let's say 123 Main Street falls through. I'll move that certification into there. I'll close this folder and I'll go add another folder and call this 234 not Main Street. Now I'll put all those documents starting on not Main into here. But I always leave the room documents. And once those are signed, everything shows up in here and I just move them into that folder. Reason being is when I come over to command, just like Dora was showing before, I had this ready. I forgot I had to shut my computer down. So this one is under listings and it's under appointments. Under heard. All right, so when I go under documents, if I want to add right here, add to file, I can go to DocuSign. Now I can choose the folder that I'm in. So there's 123 Main Street. And there's the ones that I have in there. That just makes it really easy to select it. And then I hit assign. It just makes it a lot easier to organize. So I keep them in by folder. And then, as I said before, if that property falls through and I've already assigned all these, then all I got to do is come up here and go to the next version. Add version. Now this is not Main Street. Now I can just start doing the same thing, but this time I'm just going to go to DocuSign and I'm going to choose. There should be not, there it is, not main. And I assign my documents there, which I don't have any in there right now. So it just makes it easier for you to work your workflow as far as finding. That's what's worked for me. Again, there's 3 different people who have taught DocuSign classes today in different parts, and we've kind of talked about that because workflow is important and it's whatever works best for you. So I showed you how to do template overlays. I showed you how to do template forms. I didn't go into splitting documents too much because Dora did that. But there's one last thing I do want to show you in DocuSign that is very, very helpful. If you're on a team, this is huge. If you're not on a team, but you have a transaction coordinator and you need them to help you with certain things, again, this is pretty big. So in this room, I'm going to go people. And within this room, say Keller Williams is the Clearwater's office I'm working out of, which they have form access and they're also a room owner. And also I'm the agent owner. So I want to invite somebody into this room. So I'm going to go ahead and say, there she is. She populates because she's in the system. So I'm going to just say this is on the list side, agent owner. Now, when I invite her, she is right there. I'm going to go to these 3 dots right here, and I'm going to go to share form access. Now, I have a choice between only this room or any room. So if she's working as my transaction coordinator and I want her to work on all my rooms, I'm going to do any room. If I'm only working with her on this transaction, then I'm going to do only this room. As we can see, the Wellington MCA also populating to this room because you're going to always have the owners of the rooms populate on the market center sides. So I'm going to choose only this room and hit save. The suggestion I would make also is now Dora would need to go into the room and do the same thing to me. She would need to add me and then give me form access because we're both giving each other form access because we're collaborating on this. Let's just say this was a referral for whatever reason, and we wanted to collaborate on some documents. This would allow us to see what's going on in each other's rooms. If I just do it, then she's just going to see mine and I'm not going to see hers. So she needs to do it for mine as well. Same thing with your transaction coordinators. So if you're working with a transaction coordinator, you want to do the same thing. You want to share form access with them on all rooms and they'd want to do the same thing. Now, when I go into my documents, if this was my TC, they'd see all the documents I put in this room and I can see all the documents they put in this room. Okay. Also, this is great if you're training, like say you're somebody in the office and you don't have your license. Somebody in the office could share form access with you and give you access to those documents so you could use to train with. That's a tip right there as well. I'm going to stop right here and see if we have any questions.
Yeah, Ryan, there's a couple of questions. So to create the templates, that's actually done on the e-signature side, right?
Yes, create the, you have to go to the e-signature side and then just pull the document in and start creating your template over top of that. Think of that as a transparency. All right. So you're using the document just so you can kind of write on top of those. Remember those transparencies you used to throw on the machine and it would project up onto those big, huge, what do they call those things? They're not TVs anymore. There's those things that Brett likes to go and install in certain market centers.
Projectors.
Overhead projector, yeah.
Yeah. We're dating ourselves, buddy. I think there's quite a few millennials and younger in this group.
That was my first job out of college selling them. I know all about overheads.
All right, I just came back. Did we cover how to do multiple initials in a document easier? Actually, I can go ahead and do that right now because that's good one. I'm gonna call Mark here. Okay. All right. So let's go to that. And I do have a test at the end, so we're probably gonna run over just a little bit if that's okay with you guys. But let's go to my documents.
Ryan, while you're getting there, will that cover sheet that you were talking about, is that going to replace details?
It's not going to replace details because details will not go away, but
right.
You wouldn't necessarily need to use details. what you'll see is any details that you fill out over in command and are brought over and put into details, those details will be actually filled out on your cover sheet already for you. So when you open up your cover sheet, you already see some of it filled out. So as you go and put in more material in there, it'll fill in details for you if you've got details that just didn't get filled in, which is the theory behind our cover sheet, because it fills in all the other documents as well. So let me add into here the one that's infamous for this. This is SPD. This is the wrong one, but I'll use it anyways. That's condo one, that's why. Okay, so those signatures go here and there. Okay. Let's go ahead and take this one over to DocuSign, create an envelope. All right, so now that we're in the envelope, add our pre-tagged roles. All right, Wander right here. We'll put Brandon right there. All right, go to next. Now we got our 2 pre-tagged roles. I'm not worried about the sellers because I'm pretending like I'm working with the buyer on this. Now the pre-tag roles, it puts it in by itself, but let's just say we need to put in some more. So you could easily drag over top of these ones that are already here and hit Control-C on your keyboard, which is just a shortcut. And now if I click outside of that and hit Control-V, which is paste, it does that for you. It does it exactly the way they are. So I could even take this and make it smaller. I can make them bigger, however you need it to be. I know
You can, if you actually right click and do paste, you could do paste to location. It'll drop it right there where you
Okay,
need
good.
it to be.
there
Sorry.
you go.
Yeah.
No, that's
my-
great. You know what? I always use the keyboard shortcut, so I
I know.
never see if it was a right click one. But
You
it
just
even
have
gives
to
you an
know-
example right there. If you want to cut, you want to copy, and you want to paste, there's your shortcuts right there.
When you do
Now
that paste to location, you just have to make sure you drop it above the line because it doesn't line it up where your cursor's at.
When you paste a location, it's great, except for when you're using, like I showed an example earlier. I went and wrinkled up a piece of paper. I put coffee stains
True.
on it. I scanned it with my phone to make it even more distorted, and then I uploaded it. So then they're not on, but at least the initials are close. So instead of you having to come in here and move this initial here and move this initial here, all you have to do in here, which again, you can't do this in .loop, is you select all and then move them both at the same time. Same thing. You can resize them both at the same time. So if it needs to go in a tight area, you do that. So if I had to have an initial next to A, B, and C right there, same thing. Once I've got these right here, I can go Control Copy. I can go Control Paste, move these up here. And if I'm getting really lazy and I don't want to keep on going to the bottom to get them, I can do it again. Control C, Control V, and it's closer to me. So if I only want this one initial to go over here, Control Copy, Control V. I don't know why you would want to do that because you normally have to have 2, but just showing you can do it. What I will show you is maybe I want to change this from Brandon to Wanda. I can do that. Just go over to that right side, change the recipient. So maybe I go Control C, Control V, and I put this next to that one, and I can change it again to Brandon. All right. Same thing for check boxes and stuff. So if I put a check box over here and I wanted to copy this, Control Copy, Control V, Control copy, Control V. Now, again, I'm just going to go across here, select all, Control copy, Control V. Or like you say, right click, copy, right click, paste.
Can you paste it twice instead of copy, paste, copy, paste?
Oh yeah,
Can't you just do paste, paste?
yeah, definitely. I can sit there and
Okay,
do it
yeah.
all day long if I wanted to.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Anyways, I just messed that document up completely. But I
Uh,
can quickly clean it up.
Carolina, what are you asking specifically? I'm sorry. So it doesn't put it on all pages, just the first page? It puts it wherever you want. Are you talking about initials?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so
wherever you want them.
If I copy
Okay,
these
so you have to
right here,
move them on the other pages, like the contract is, I don't know, 12, whatever pages. So you only do it for the first page, then you have to move it down on each page, or
nope, like I just showed you right
Yeah.
there. I
you have to
just
copy
copied
and
that from the
paste?
first page and went to the second
Yeah.
page. And then I can get these signatures right here that are on the second page. I'll hit Control C and I can just come up here and do the same thing on the first page. I can put those same initials. There they are. And it puts it in the same place as it was on the second page on the first page. Those initials are lined up exactly where they were on the second page.
Okay.
It's very helpful. So this, when like I was saying, I was doing my daughter's summer class sign up sheet. This made that much easier. I originally started doing it in .loop, and I was about to pull my hair out because it was taking so long. Now I've gotten used to using DocuSign, and these little tips right here make DocuSign so much quicker and easier to use. You won't want to use .loop after this. I'm pretty much refusing to use it now.
Anna.
Can't think of
you-
anything that DocuSign does a lot better than, I'm sorry, .loop does a lot better than DocuSign.
I would second that. And I trained on .loop. I was the trainer for .loop, so I love DocuSign. Anna Wood has a question. She said, why would you do that if you can just select pre-tagged role? He's just using this as an example. You would
Yeah.
do it in a PDF. You wouldn't in a pre-tagged role. It automatically does it.
Yeah, because this PDF right here, we're assuming that this is one we pulled in, but what if this was one we got back from the sellers? Like, for example, when you're filling out your templates, you'll probably use this when creating your template. That way you don't have to do it anymore. So in your template, you'll put initial in, then copy, paste all the way through, create your template, save and move on, and then hopefully never have to do that again because you'll just apply a template.
And Donna, yes, everybody gets their own color.
Yes.
Hey, oh, sorry. I just happened to notice something when you were on that document. Were those check boxes?
Yes.
So just so that people know in the future, like if you need it to be one or the other, those need to be radio buttons, right, Ryan?
Yes. So those wouldn't be the correct ones to use. You just come over radio, same thing. You select this one, and even on the check boxes, it gives you the option to choose one. You can add a second one. You don't have to keep on doing that. But again, we could add this third one and then do the same thing. Well, I'll go to copy, and then I'll go up here and go to paste. That's not what I wanted. Select all. Copy.
I'm just going to answer Gail's question. Gail, real quick, why would you create a template for a seller's disclosure for check boxes or radio buttons? Can you clarify that question for me?
When I'm working with a buyer, I don't want to go in and I don't want to put in all the buyer's information. For example, they have to go through and put all the initials at the bottom of each one of those pages. So
She's talking
I wouldn't do
about-
check boxes in there,
Yeah,
but I
that's
would
what I'm saying.
definitely create a template for the initials.
Correct. That's what I was saying. I think, Gail, you don't have to create the checkbox or radio button or checkbox because the buyer doesn't need to fill any of that out. They just need
That's correct.
signatures and initials.
Yeah, the whole purpose of this is just to show you how you can create templates or create things much faster. You
Mhm.
just copy and paste.
Yeah, no, for the seller, I'm sorry. Yeah, of
Yeah, yeah.
course.
For the seller, these are already done, so you don't have to.
Yeah, when you do pre-tagged role, Gail, for seller, it automatically has it already in there.
So you don't have to. Do that.
Well,
What?
you want the real story on the seller's property disclosure? Last time I looked, they were all check boxes, and you can actually check every single one of them on the document. They should be radio buttons.
Yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
Oh, yes, I see what you're saying.
So you
The
know what you should-
document needs to be changed, so we will get on that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and
Go
that's what I
submit
was
that.
referring to. I
Thank
wasn't
you.
trying to poke at anyone. I was
No, no,
just-
no.
No.
I was just trying to get
great that it
clarity.
came up. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure other
absolutely.
people have experienced that too. So I know I have.
Yeah, if you give a seller an option, because we aren't able to actually do anything on there, all we can do is tell them it's wrong, but they'll go
Right,
select.
that's why I
one.
was, yeah, this is Gail. That's why I was asking the question, because I would like to create my own and put radio buttons in there so they can't check everything.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
instead of spending your time doing that, Gail, I'd rather you be writing more contracts. So let Brett or one of us go in and tell them, hey, you messed this up. It's supposed to be a radio button, and we'll get it fixed. You don't have to worry about that. Because the problem with that is what happens if they change the seller's property disclosures and you spend a lot of time working on it and they have to do it again. So we just need to get them to do it right from the beginning.
And actually, as I recall, they're not even required fields. So the last time I did one, I got it back and it was all signed and initialed and absolutely nothing checked.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
All
we'll
right,
get
so-
that fixed.
We talked about, there's one other trick. How many of you guys like to download your documents and just take them and get these thing called ink signed on them?
What?
What-
Hey,
yeah,
do I
what?
do that when I use a fax machine?
I actually like ink on a contract sometimes. It's really nice because then I don't even really have to upload it into DocuSign. I can just upload it right into Command and not even worry about it. However, there are times when I need to do that. I need to just print it up. And a lot of times what happens is we go to try and pull that document and it's got a watermark on it. So I'm going to teach you a neat little trick on how to get around that. Let's go in document section. So let's just use the seller's property disclosure as an example. So if I went to this and I went to split, and this works on any document, and I'm just going to type sell SPDC1 is what I'm naming this. And then I'm going to do 1 through 3. Yes, that's all of the document. Hit save. And now I no longer have that as a form. It now is a PDF that I can now open up. I can download it, and it has no watermark on it. Just a tip. So if you ever need something without a watermark, just try and split it, but don't really split it. If anybody has anything they want to share, any ahas before we go?
Just an awesome job, everybody. Great job. Especially our certified DocuSign people there. Great job. Ryan, you're always awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to be actually bringing that to the region. We're going to be doing a lunch and learn. We're not going to be certifying training, but we're going to be doing a DocuSign lunch and learn training. So if there's people in your market center that didn't get to attend and they want to watch the videos, they can watch the videos. But if they want an actual session, we will be doing it again for a lunch and learn. It's a little bit different than not a whole day event. And I'm sure we can get Dora and Ariel to help with that as well. But as soon as we get that out, we'll be announcing it to the region. All right, guys. Anybody else have any ahas? What was your biggest takeaway from today on this last one? What was the biggest tip you took away?
Copy and pasting.
Isn't that great? So much easier.
Emailing into the room.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yep. You figure how to forward right from your email. Just go in and put in a contact in your email so you can just forward it to that contact. How to create a template for fast offers. Now, I'm sorry, the beginning of that first template, I kind of screwed that one up a little bit, so I apologize. I tried to be over prepared and didn't come in right, but that really is one of my favorite things right there, is just applying those templates because it's just so quick and easy. The main thing is get them set up ahead of time. Take the time to do the work ahead of time, and then when it comes offer time, it's like we don't practice on our clients, we practice on ourselves at first, go through and practice by getting those set up. And then when it comes time to write offers, it should just go boom, boom, boom.
My biggest aha is that an e-signing platform still has faxing capability.